Alright, I want to film all the books I got from London recently. Even though most of you are just here for the free audiobooks. You know, sometimes I think it'd be nice if I film a YouTube video or two, so that I entertain myself mostly. And I have a lot of books here that I'm going to show off. Most of them I bought secondhand. London has some great secondhand bookshops. They don't drive quite as hard a bargain as most New York City bookshops, for example, but I still found some cool stuff. So, first off here, Michael Chabon's A Model World and Other Stories. I think this is his second book, his first one being The Mysteries of Pittsburgh, and his first collection of short stories. And I kind of wanted to read all of his books in order, kind of to see how he developed as a writer, but I already messed up because I already have read his second novel, Wonder Boys, which came after this. So I already messed up, but I'm gonna try to correct course here and read this fairly soon. Next up, we have a book I've already read, surprisingly, which is The Gospel According to the Sun by Norman Mailer. I was very excited when I picked this up, and it's a pretty good book. It's a bit, how to put this nicely, it's a bit Paulo Coelho-ish at times. It's not too deep philosophically. You know, I think Norman Mailer really wanted to say some deep things with some of his books. This one, he didn't really do that. But I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. It's a fun book. It's an enjoyable read on the life of Jesus, and if you're into that kind of a book, yeah, check this out. I don't know. It was fun. It's a quick, easy read. He doesn't do his very Baroque sort of Rococo style that he sometimes does. It's very readable. It's very easy to understand, and yeah, it's fun. It was described as hypnotically engaging. I don't know if it's hypnotically engaging, but it is pretty engaging. Another Norman Mailer. I got a lot of Norman Mailer on this trip. Ancient Evenings. This is a mammoth of a book. On the back, it's compared to Gravity's Rainbow, which is one of the few books that I ever gave up reading. I will pick it up again eventually, but it's just not for me. And this book is probably not for me either. It's about sort of ancient Egypt, but it's also kind of not about ancient Egypt. If anything, it's about, as you can see here, about reincarnation. And I heard Mailer was planning to write a sequel about this, where one of the characters or something reincarnates as Norman Mailer. That would have been interesting. I don't know. I'll read this eventually. It's a very big, kind of challenging, seemingly like postmodern novel, which is not 100% my thing, but I'll give it a shot later. I don't know. I'll let you know how it goes. Next up, another Norman Mailer, this time a bit of nonfiction. The Fight. It's about the rumble in the jungle between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. I don't know anything about boxing. I don't know anything about sports in general. I'm kind of a nerd. And a kind of a distinctively non-sportsy nerd. But this seems fun. Like, if you write a book with a good enough prose style, I think it could be interesting no matter what it's on. And that's kind of what I'm going for with this book. I'm not super invested in the subject, but I think if the prose is good, I'll have a good time. And we have a mammoth over here. Harlot's Ghost, also by Norman Mailer, also got at a secondhand bookshop. You can tell this is pretty messed up, but I don't really care that much. I mean, if I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna leave the cover at home and just carry this huge thing with me without it. But yeah, this is a book about the CIA. It's sort of a secret history of, you know, Cold War or whatever. Norman Mailer has a lot of weird theories about stuff from, you know, the Kennedy assassination to the death of Marilyn Monroe, and I'm sure there's a lot of that in here. Yeah, and here's his face on the cover. For a man who liked promoting himself a lot, not a lot of his books have his face on the cover. Alright, now for something completely different, we have Rachel Cusk's new novel, Parade, and this is a signed, I think, first British edition. I will show you the signature in a second. There you go, Rachel Cusk. That's a very ugly signature, I'm sorry. I haven't read any Rachel Cusk. I do have a couple of her books around the house. My girlfriend read one of them, and I want to read some of her stuff, but I don't think I'll start here. I think if I was to read any of her stuff, I'd probably read Outline. I'm also really interested in her memoirs, A Life's Work. After something, Aftermath, and The Last Supper, I think they're called. So yeah, I want to read those three in the Outline trilogy first. But this seems like an interesting book. Kusk is really interested in ideas, how to live, what freedom means. Okay, yeah, okay. That's not really saying much about the book. Come on. Who isn't interested in how to live and what freedom means these days? Come on. Next up, another big hardcover book. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. I think you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This is a big book. As far as I know, it's about like, I think it's the bookstore where I got it, Judd Books. Yeah. I think it's about like 9/11 and a child with autism spectrum disorder. I haven't read any Jonathan Safran Foer yet. I also own his first novel, which I think is called Everything is Illuminated. I own that in paperback, and I've been meaning to get at it for a while, but you know how these things go. Also, this hand is huge. Love in the Time of Cholera. I was watching High Fidelity the other day, and the main character makes a joke about how he's not a stupid guy, but he's not a smart guy, but he's not stupid either, because he read Love in the Time of Cholera and The Unbearable Lightness of Being. And I realized I didn't read either of those, so I picked this up. It's allegedly about girls. This book, I got it in an Oxfam, I think, and it was in a horrible condition when I got it. Like, it had dirt all over the cover, and I scrubbed it away, and now it looks kind of nice. Yeah, it was £12.95, I think. Wait, no, it wasn't. It was £2.99. The original guy, the original purchaser of the book, I assume, paid £12.95. But I only paid £12.99. But I had to scrub away some dirt from it, so clearly £10, you know. Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. It was half price. I wouldn't have got it. I wouldn't have gotten this for full price. When I got to London, like the first day I think I was there, I walked into a bookstore, and all of the books on the basement in the basement were half off, and I picked up some stuff, including this book. I've never read a book written by a president before, I think, and I kind of thought that I was gonna read this one to see what it's like to. Well, it's not about being president, to be fair. I think he wrote it like 10 years before he became president, but you know, I heard it's good. Like, I think Michael Chabon complimented it. I think Philip Roth complimented it. So, you know, there must be something to it. I don't think it's just another ghost-written political memoir, because he wrote it a long time before he properly entered politics. I think he was running for like president of the Harvard something club or whatever. Like, he wasn't even running for state senator yet. So yeah, I think this is just a good book, you know, other than the, you know, obvious political nonsense maybe associated with it. And when I say nonsense, I don't mean like to disparage Barack Obama or anything. I'm not a conservative, I promise. Pulphead by John Jeremiah Sullivan. Currently his only book, although we're waiting for Prime Minister of Paradise to drop sometime this century. This is a book of essays. I always enjoy a good book of essays. This book, I think I was reading, the first piece I ever read by this guy was the one about Axl Rose, which I don't know where that is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So I think I read a bit of his Axl Rose piece, and I was really impressed with it. And yeah, I wanted to read the whole thing, the whole book. It seems fun. I don't know. I picked it up on my last day in London, like a couple hours before my plane was set to leave. I was like, I'm gonna go for another Waterstones raid, and I'm gonna pick up the stuff that I wanted to pick up that I didn't get to pick up, and this was one of the books. Yeah, it seems fun. I don't know. I want to write my own book of essays soon, so I'm kind of reading all of these so I get a kind of idea what a good book of essays is. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon? I don't know. Another book about a child, as far as I know, kind of like Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close, about a child who suffers from autism spectrum disorder. This one is a bit more young adultish, like YA, as far as I understand, but I think it, you can enjoy it as an adult. It's not one of those like stupid. I was gonna insult an author there, and I decided not to. So yeah, seems fun. I'll read it soon. It seems like a very kind of easy, light read in a sense, but also kind of. I assume it will be kind of impactful at times. Next up, we have one of those Library of America Gorgeous editions. I really like these. They could use a bit larger font, but then again, they have to contain so many pages that they would become impossibly heavy and annoying to carry around if they had bigger font. And this is The Moviegoer, The Last Gentleman, and Love in Ruins, The Moviegoer and Other Novels, 1961, 1971, by a gentleman named Walker Percy. I think I first heard of The Moviegoer when I was on Wikipedia and I was looking at a list of philosophical novels or novels that are considered philosophical, and The Moviegoer was on there as a sort of novel kind of influenced by the philosophy of Soren Kierkegaard, and I really wanted to read it for that purpose. And it seems interesting. It's one of those. It seems to me one of those like 1960s, mid American century first person kind of detached novels, and that's a genre that I'm really fond of, if you can even call it a genre. Illuminations by Walter Benjamin. This is a philosopher I became interested in when I was watching the Susan Sontag documentary, and she had just released one of her most famous books on photography, and one of her friends visited her when On Photography came out, and she was depressed because her book was not as good as Walter Benjamin, and that's why I want to read it. I think his most famous essay, which is included in this book, is The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reflection. And I can't wait to read it. It seems like a good read. Also got that one in a cheap secondhand bookshop. I think the same one where I got Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. George Lukács, I think you say Lukács. Lenin, a study on the unity of his thought. This is a book my girlfriend got me as a gift while we were in London. It's a very short, kind of sub 100-page book on Lenin. It's published by Verso, which is one of my favorite publishers, and it should be one of your favorite publishers too if you are interested in good left-wing literature. My camera's gone out of focus. Come on. Oh, there we go. I'm looking forward to reading this. We got this one in a nice left-wing bookshop that had a lot of text like these, and it also had copies of Jacobin, which I've never seen in real life before, which was a cool experience. I don't think this will be a particularly fun read, but I think it'll be. I'll be smarter by the end of it. Oh, here's a big one. This is cool. This is something I've wanted for a really long time. The last two novels by Cormac McCarthy, if they be willing to come out, so I can show them to you. The Passenger and Stella Maris. These two novels were released, I think, in like 2021 or 2022 or something like that. 2022, according to this copyright page. And they're the last novels by Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy is an author that I'm not terribly familiar with. I've only read No Country for Old Men, which is a pretty good novel. I've tried getting into Blood Meridian unsuccessfully, and I will try again eventually. And I'm also looking forward to reading The Road, and I'm also looking forward to reading these two. This one has a lot of, I think both of them, but I think mostly this one, because this one is just a conversation between a woman and her psychiatrist. I think they have a lot of incest in them, and I'm looking forward to reading that. What can I say? I think I have a brainworm. Both of these books are mainly dialogue. This one has a bit more like description and action. This one is all dialogue, except for like the first page or something. Yeah, it's about a couple of siblings, Bobby Western and his sister, whose name escapes me. Maybe this one will have that information. Alicia. So Bobby and Alicia Western, two kids. Alicia is, as far as I know, a mathematical genius or something, so it kind of has that Salingerian genius family twist. And their father helped build the atomic bomb, as far as I know. And now maybe the government is looking for them or something, I don't know. Yeah, and I think you're supposed to read The Passenger first, even though Stella Maris takes place before The Passenger. But I'm gonna read the both of them, and I'm gonna write a piece about it. And I'm gonna call it Cormac McCarthy's Incest Fantasy. So look forward to the release of that essay whenever I get to it. If you're watching this, which, considering how many people watched my last YouTube video, the one on my vinyl collection, is very slim, so you're probably not watching this. But if you are and you want more stuff like what I'm doing here, more conversational discussions about books and music and all that, you should check out our Substack, which is called What Nothing Means, after the a line in the Joan Didion novel Played As It Lives, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And I write pieces for it, and my girlfriend also writes pieces for it. Her pieces are generally better than mine, but she's also a more infrequent contributor, let's say. I have a couple books by Hunter Thompson, which are the Gonzo papers. I think volumes 2 and 3. I already had volume 1 and volume 4. Volume 1 was called The Great Shark Hunt, and volume 4 was called Better Than Sex. Something like Confessions of a Political Junkie or whatever. These are called Generation of Swine and Songs of the Doomed, and they contain a lot of his pieces and a lot of his journalism from the 80s and I think early 90s or something like that, or just the 80s. I don't know. And they also contain a lot of pieces that were from like earlier, like the 50s, 60s, and the 70s. Oh yeah, this one has the 90s too. Okay. Yeah, the first proper piece in here, I think, is like an introduction. No, I'm completely wrong on. Yeah, these are like kind of introductions and stuff. And then a quote from The Great Gatsby. But yeah, we have early on, let's say, not the first thing, but early on, we have excerpts from Prince Jellyfish, which I think was Thompson's first novel that never got properly published. Hunter Thompson has a lot of unpublished works, like Prince Jellyfish, Polo Is My Life. There's that NRA book, The Gun Lobby. He has a lot of stuff that's unpublished. I assume a lot of it is not particularly great quality, but come on, let's get it out. I'm curious. We have so many books of like Rolling Stones articles and such. We could get another novel, because he only has 2 novels, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is barely a novel, and Rum Diary, and I would really, really like if we got another novel or 2 from the man. So yeah, Prince Jellyfish, Polo Is My Life. Let's get that stuff out. That would be really cool. Numero Zero by Umberto Eco. I haven't read a single book by Umberto Eco, but I got this one cheap in an Oxfam. I already own The Name of the Rose, but I've never read The Name of the Rose. And yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong for £2. It seems like a fun book. It's a lot shorter than most of his works. And again, it's one of those first-person kind of... Seems like one of those first-person kind of seemingly light and detached, but really interesting and profound novels. And I can't wait to read it. I'm sorry if the criticism and the, stuff I'm saying about each one of those books is not particularly deep, but I have not read them because I just picked them up. So I don't have much to say yet other than, yeah, that looks interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to read this. We have 2 more stacks now to go through. Now we have a big Sheila Heti sort of mini section over here. Pure Color, Motherhood, The Alphabetical Diaries, all signed, which is amazing. I love signed books, even though they give me great anxiety to actually read, which is what you're supposed to do with the book, but whatever. It's kind of a catch-22, because you enjoy it as an object so much more, but you're afraid to use it for what it's properly meant to be used for. Motherhood and Pure Color are like seemingly standard kind of auto-fiction novels, which is a genre I very much enjoy. The Alphabetical Diaries is basically just kind of pieces of her diary, pieces of her journals and all that, but arranged in alphabetical order. So for example, here is the I chapter, I believe, and all of these sentences begin with the letter I. Yep, this does not seem like a fun reading experience, but I don't think it's meant to be fun. I think it's meant to... I don't know what it's meant to do, I'm sorry. But yeah, I can't wait to read it, those two. I'm also going to read this one if I get the chance, but I'm going to be extra careful with these, because they might be worth something someday, I don't know. Pure Color, actually, I remember when this was published, I think in Granta, like pieces of this was published in Granta, and I remember picking that up and being like, oh cool, a piece by Sheila Heti. And she apparently turned it into a whole book. I don't know if she was already, like she had already announced that she was going to turn it into a whole book, I don't know. But yeah, whenever I buy a literary journal, Sheila Heti is always seemingly in it. Like I just bought a copy of what was it, Harper's, I think, and it was a piece in there about this weird fake science book she got really into. Keeping the signed books galore going, The Fraud by Zadie Smith and N.W. Northwest, I guess, by Zadie Smith. Both signed by the author. I wish I got The Fraud signed in hardcover, like a first edition or something, because I do remember seeing that on the Waterstones website when it first came out, but I didn't order it at the time, and I wasn't in England at the time, so I didn't, or in Great Britain or in Ireland at the time, so I didn't get to order a copy of that. And Northwest, yeah. So I'll do with the paperback. It's fine. It's whatever. I can live with having the paperback instead of the first edition hardcover. At least it's fine, you know. Elizabeth Hardwick, Robert Lowell, and Their Circle, The Dolphin Letters, 1970-1979. I have been on an Elizabeth Hardwick kick this year. I've read both Sleepless Nights and Seduction and Betrayal. And yeah, I got this fairly cheap, I think. I definitely did not pay $50 for it. I paid... Do we have any indicator how much I paid? No. I'm terribly sorry, sir, but there doesn't seem to be an indicator for how much I paid for it. Unless I'm stupid, and there is, and it's obvious to everybody but me. Oh, yeah, I'm stupid. Yeah, I paid £6 for it, which is definitely worth it, considering it was supposed to be released at... Come on. $50. So yeah, this is basically the letters that Elizabeth Hardwick, Robert Lowell, and their friends all wrote each other while Robert Lowell was writing The Dolphin, which is one of his famous poems. Yeah, Elizabeth Hardwick was also writing Seduction and Betrayal and Sleepless Nights at the time, I think, throughout the 70s. Yeah, I think this will be an interesting read. It's a huge book. It also has a huge, like, appendix at the end full of like index and stuff. It has a huge index and all that. Yeah. I don't know. I've never really read a full book of somebody's letters before, even though I've wanted to many times. I don't know why I've never actually did it. I think it's kind of daunting to read. I don't know, but I don't have problems with like the concept of public. I'm not a very moral reader. Oh, what the fuck happened here? Oh, somebody was not careful with this when they were handling it. This is the new Stephen King book. You Like It Darker, sort of paraphrasing the Leonard Cohen song off his last album, or second last, because they released another one since then, but whatever. Yeah, You Like It Darker, it's a collection of short stories. I got it because it was half off. I have not read a single Stephen King book since I was like 16 or something. Not that I hate him or anything, it's just kind of the writer you read when you're 13, 15, and then you kind of move on. I'm not trying to insult anybody who still reads Stephen King at like in their 20s or 30s or whatever, but I'm saying I never really got into him again after that. But I might give this one a chance. I have a lot of Stephen King books that I have not read yet. I still haven't read like The Stand or It, but I have read like Salem's Lot and Carrie and The Shining, and yeah, maybe if I get in a spooky mood this October, I will give it a read, because it seems like a fun book. And I do plan on writing a lot of short stories soon too, so maybe I'll read it and get inspired. Although I don't really write horror. Soul Below, Herzog. I think this is a first British edition. Printed in Great Britain by Cox and Wyman Limited, London, Fakenham and Reading. Right. And this was a bit more pricey. It was £30. Yeah, Herzog. I've read a couple Soul Below novels. I've read Humble's Gift. I read Seize the Day. I've read The Dangling Man. I haven't read this one yet, and I'm looking forward to it. I heard a lot of good things about it, obviously, because it's one of the most famous books by one of the most famous American writers of all time. And the same secondhand bookshop that had this one also had a copy of sorry, I was looking to make sure I wasn't like revealing some secret information accidentally. Yeah, it also had a copy of Byline Hemingway's essays, and I didn't buy that because it was too expensive, and I kind of regret it now. It's like £45 or something. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it, even though this is probably not meant to be like a reading copy. You're probably meant to take care of your first editions, even though they are not that valuable because they're British first edition, not American first edition. But it doesn't matter. Come on, it's a book. I'm very obsessive about my books. I want them to be in good condition. That's why I'm gonna throw a fit off camera when this video is done about the little accident that happened to this Stephen King cover later. But it doesn't matter really. Come on, I am just very obsessive about this kind of stuff, and I should quit. And the last book I'm going to show you today, Happiest Man Alive, a biography of Henry Miller by Mary V. Dearborn. I first heard of Mary V. Dearborn in I'm sorry about that. I first heard about Mary V. Dearborn in a documentary about Hemingway, I think, the PBS one that came out, directed by Ken or something, whatever. Yeah, the Hemingway documentary had her as one of the interviewees, and yeah, I haven't seen the book she has written on Hemingway while I was in London, but I have seen this book, and I would like to read it. I'm not a huge Henry Miller fan. I've read The Tropic. I've read The Colossus of Marusi. I've read A Letter to New York. I've read A Devil in Paradise, and several others of his work. I've read The World of Sex, I think, too. He has his moments, but I think once he loses his shock value, which he definitely has, because we have access to pornography all the time now, and almost every single commercial book that releases has some sort of sex in it, more or less, other than books for children, obviously. But even those sometimes have sex in them. I don't know. I'm not a moralist. I don't care. It's just that once he loses his shock value, I think he also loses a bit of his ability to impress you with his writing. Something that did shock me, though, in this book, it's revealed that Henry Miller thought quite highly of Mein Kampf when he first read it. I think he said something like the fact that there are a lot of important truths in there, and I'm not an easily offended person generally, but sheesh, that's not the kind of stuff you hope your favorite writers to say, even though Henry Miller is not one of my favorite writers. Yeah, that's about it. That's my whole London haul. I thought this video would take way longer, but I haven't really edited it yet, so I don't know how long it's going to be. It's probably going to be like, I don't know, 35 minutes or something. Thanks for watching, in case you were, which you probably weren't, and I hope to catch you on my next video. Toodaloo.